Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So this right here, this is of course the redesigned 2022 GMC Sierra, and after I saw one driving by the other day, I started thinking if I should have waited just a few months to get this instead of my Ram Rebel. I love the Rebel, don't get me wrong, but this is such an impressive step forward for the Sierra over the previous generation, which wasn't even a consideration for me at the time, especially when I compared the two interiors, the interiors of the Rebel and the previous generation GMC Sierra. You just couldn't compare the two. But before we jump into Photoshop to analyze the new exterior design and the interior, let's go over some of the spec and tech of the 2022 Sierra. So the base model is now called Pro, and we also get two brand new trim levels called the AT4X and the Denali Ultimate trims, which you can think of as an AT4 and a Denali Plus trims with a little bit of extra everything. So in the AT4 you get a little bit of extra terrain capabilities, off-road capabilities. In the Denali Ultimate you get a little more luxury features. If you're looking to go into the wild, you want to have a look at the new AT4X. The AT4X is the most off-road focused model in the Sierra 1500 lineup, and it isn't just for show. It comes with advanced dampers, electronic locking front and rear differentials, skid plates to protect the undercarriage, and even the body of the truck with the rocker guards. The wheels are black 18-inch wrapped in Goodyear Wrangler DuraTrac Mud-Terrain tires, and when you're in terrain mode, you can drive the AT4X with one pedal in slow speeds while crawling over some rough terrain. If you're more interested in a proper luxury truck, the new Denali Ultimate should do the trick. Usually, I'm not a fan of anything chrome, but I have to say I do like this black chrome we have on the massive front grille here. For the wheels, the GMC fitted the Denali Ultimate with huge 22-inch rims and way less aggressive tires, which you would expect them being less aggressive than those you find on the AT4X, because this is more primarily focused on comfort and luxury, and that's exactly what you're gonna get with the Denali Ultimate. On the inside, you'll find a lot of leather and a lot of wood trim, just as expected as well. And on top of that, you have a 16-way power adjustable front seat with built-in massage function. So you can adjust the seat 16 ways. I'm just trying to figure out 16 ways to adjust a front seat, but that's what you get in the Denali Ultimate. So what about the powertrains here? You can still get the 2022 Sierra with a 355 horsepower 5.3 liter or a 420 horsepower 6.2 liter V8. In addition, a 2.7 liter turbo inline 4 and a 3 liter inline 6 Duramax diesel are also available. What you can't get anymore is the 4.3 liter V6, which is cancelled for 2022. The chassis has been redesigned as well to give the Duramax diesel a towing capacity of up to 13,200 pounds, and this is quite a huge step up from the previous generation of 9,200 pounds. There are some big changes on the inside as well, and this is also one of these things or features, new designs that really puts the new 2022 Sierra in a completely different level. So you have a new 12.3-inch digital instrument panel and a 13.4-inch center touchscreen. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto come standard if we go for the big touchscreen, and you can also opt for a huge head-up display if you want to. So the pricing for the 2022 Sierra, it starts at $32,495, and that's for the base Sierra Pro, and the top of the range Denali Ultimate will set you back $80,395. That's a full $19,100 more than the regular Denali. So with the AT4, that's the one I would go with. That starts at $60,995, and the AT4X with some additional upgrades, off-road capabilities, that's cost $74,995 before any option. So there used to be a time when trucks were cheap workhorses, but that's definitely not the case anymore, specifically not if you go for the higher level trims of the Sierra. So let's jump into Photoshop here. And I made a video on this before, but I just had to make one going in detail in these design changes that we have on the GMC Sierra for the 2022, which you have up here, to 2020, I mean, to the 2022 down here. And I think this is such a great example of you don't really have to do a lot to create a really beautiful looking design from something that wasn't really flowing well in the front end. So as you can see on the 2020, we have this line of the headlights going into nothing in the front grille. So it kind of clashes with that. And then you have the lower part here with a bit of an angle to it. And also this part of the LED also has a interesting curvature to it. You don't really know if it's supposed to be straight here, or if it's supposed to be a curve, or if it's supposed to be just an angle at this point going down. So it's kind of a confusing rear front fascia for the older generation Sierra. It doesn't really make sense in the headlights, and there are angles that are so vague that you don't know what the intention was from the designers. And then you have kind of this zigzag shape going right here, kind of framing the whole entire front face, which looks pretty cool, but at the same time it doesn't have any flow to it. In addition to that, you have this piece down here in a different color and in a completely different geometric shape as well, housing what is supposedly, I guess, the fog lights down there. Now looking at the grille, we have a pretty decent size grille, which I think suits this size of truck. We have these dips down here that I don't really understand why they are there. They just add some more complexity to the design. All of these things that I just mentioned here have actually been fixed for the 2022 model. So look at this. Now we have, instead of having some vague angles in the front headlights, we now have a headlight that stretches right here. You have this top LED that goes in to the top part of the grille. So it's connected in this line very beautifully. And then we have a straight vertical line going down and no confusion about what the designer's intent were here. And then you have this line from the LED going into the framing of the front fascia that we're totally lacking in the 2020 model right here. As you can see, it's kind of a mess in this area right here. And that became so much smoother when you look at the 2022 model, in my opinion. And also, have a look at the fog light down here. You have a big, very intense graphic feature in the 2020 model, and that's been moved now to this position down here. So a very tiny little fog light down here at the bottom, which I think looks so much better as well. And we still have a little piece of the old fog light housing right here in this section, which might be a functional air intake. I'm not sure if it's functional or not, but it just cleans up the entire front face looking at these two side by side like this. It's such a great job by GMC by redesigning this 2022 GMC to step it up a level, not just in quality. It looks like it's a better built truck just by looking at these design features, but also in the line flow and the overall design of the car. Looking at the rear view, nothing major really happened here, but there is one change that I think also, same thing here, small change that made a big difference, and those are these exhausts like that you have down here. I've never been a fan of these smushed exhaust pipes, which are very thin and squarish. It looks a little cheap in my opinion. I would love to still have some exhaust pipes in the rear. I think it looks good on a truck like this, specifically if you're going for the AT4 or the AT4X with some off-road ruggedness. You want to have some bazooka sticking out in the rear. They did some changes to that, but they totally removed the exhaust altogether. What I would like to see here is maybe some round tailpipes like this, or maybe even some oval tailpipe. I'm not sure if oval would work with the overall design of this truck. I think round would be probably a better solution for the design, because it's such a geometric design, so you want to have very simple geometrical shapes in the features as well. So having circular tailpipes here I think would be really cool, similar to what you have on the Ram 1500s and the Rebel, for example. Other than that, I can't really see any other differences in this design. It looks pretty clean still. This part here has grown on me a little bit. I think what I thought before was that this part protruding out in the top part of the tailgate, it gives it it makes it look a little top heavy. It looks like we have more mass up top than we have down here, so it kind of looks a little off, but after a while you get used to it. and now I think it looks pretty decent having this protruding surface right here. It gives it more character for the Sierra 1500, and it's not something that I'm really bothered by anymore. I want to show you the comparison between the Denali and the AT4 and what I like about the two. So here we have the Denali, of course, to the right here, and then we have the AT4X on the left. What I like about the Denali, usually, as I said, I'm not a huge fan of chrome pieces, but what they did here in this Denali is they kind of toned down the chrome and made it darker up here in the grille. The grille is still, of course, massive in the front, and it takes up a huge area of the percentage of what is the front fascia of this truck, but it doesn't matter. It suits this truck and it looks really good. We have the same treatment, obviously, of the headlights, framing everything in a nice way going all the way to this point. So we have this large framing of the front fascia, which I really like. One thing on the Denali though that I would love to change is this chrome piece at the bottom. That to me just shines a little too bright. It looks a little cheap maybe. So what I would like to do, I would still like to have some chrome features in the front. It is after all the luxury trim of the Sierra, so the Denali should have a little bit of chrome in the front end, but why not just tone it down a little bit? So something like this. Here we have the original, but make it in line with what you have in the main grille up front. So have the same kind of texture to, not texture, but the finish on the chrome piece down here, and don't make it stand out too much like we have right here. So it's a little bit too shiny for me, but that's just a detail that I think not a lot of people are gonna be bothered by. But if I were to redesign this, that's the only thing pretty much I would do to the front end of the Denali. Looking at the AT4 right here, you can see the differences in, for example, the lower part right here. The bumper is different on the AT4, and this piece, we don't have chrome here, so I do prefer this version or this design where you have the tow hooks right here. You have tow hooks on the Denali as well, but here I think this is plastic or maybe even metal. I know that the skid plate under here is metal. I'm not sure about this piece up here. And the grille, I think the finish of the grille looks really good as well, with that dark, almost gunmetal charcoal finish to the design. Now, this is also something that I just have to mention and compare the two, because it looks like the interior of the 2022. It came out in 1996 or something like that. And this is a huge, it looks like it's forward by 20 years comparing these two interiors. Just look at how simplistic the interior is of the 2022 Denali. We have these big cut lines in this piece right here, in these glove boxes, huge cut lines, which to me looks lower quality when you have cut lines like that. It's almost like looking at a Fisker Karma in the early days. The cut lines and the body lines were just massive, and you kind of feel like it's a low quality product when you don't have the correct tolerances between the pieces of the product that you're building. This was something that, this piece right here, if you just look at this could have been from a car of the 1990s, specifically looking at these handles, in addition to the overall shape of this. And we have a more horizontal feel, so the graphics go up from down to up and up to down, instead of having it be more horizontal. I want to have it be more horizontal and less vertical, and that's what they fixed with the new interior. And you can look at the gauge cluster here, very dated analog gauge cluster, which also was updated, of course, for the 2022 model year with this display right there. And then you have more of a horizontal feeling here in this layout of the new interior, which I'm a huge fan of. And looking at this piece, for example, massive step up. This is an interior that you just want to sit in for a long time, appreciate all the materials, the details, and having a look at, for example, the just a simple feature such as the glove box. Look how beautifully made and sculptured this wooden block glove box is compared to this super dated design up here. Such a massive improvement. And as I said, more horizontal lines stretching from one end to the other, going like this, creating more of a wide looking interior instead of building it in a vertical manner. So to answer my own question in the beginning, would I have chosen this over the Ram Rebel? And the answer to that is no, I wouldn't, but it would definitely be a consideration with the new 2022 model. Also the design of the Ram, I love the front end and the proportions of the Ram Rebels, but this is getting really close now to being in the same category when it comes to quality and specifically interior design as the Ram Rebel. And also Chevy Silverado have stepped it up big time when it comes to the interior design as well. So they're all pretty much in line now when it comes to quality and material feel, specifically when we talk about the interior. So well done GMC. I look forward to seeing all of these trim levels out on the streets and what people do to them. One thing I would definitely do to the AT4 is put some bigger wheels on there. 35s would suit the AT4 a lot better than I think the 33s that we have on it right now. It looks a little small, but other than that, it's just a beautiful, fantastic looking truck.